Hey guys, so if I make a cat video, right, or a video about a dog in the local neighborhood while I'm delivering packages, I can get, a few thousand views on a short. And as fun as that is, and as much as I love getting those views and getting those subscribers, it's not... See, I can make the world a better place. Like, I don't want to save the world. I'm not delusional or anything like that. But I want to make the world better. So I want to, like, increase people's knowledge, inform them, and have them, like, be informed voters when they're talking, right? Or when they're doing anything in relation to politics. Or I could just, do cat videos and bring smile to people's faces. Well, we've been doing the cat video thing for the last 30, 40 years now, and, well, it hasn't, it's been more like, has it only been like 20 years since the first YouTube video? That is insane to me, that it's only been 20 years since the first YouTube video. This guy's made a very poor choice in his life. Wait for his kids there of all places. But anyways, so, I can make the world a better place by trying to bring smiles to people's faces, but it doesn't seem to have worked over the last 20, 30 years. Like, what we need to do is we have to have people more informed, less propagandized, and understanding more how the world works. Even if you vote Democrat, I don't want you thinking that, like, Trump is a fascist, because that doesn't make any sense, okay? That's just objectionably incorrect, just completely wrong. It's BS. I'd rather you like vote for Democrats and not go completely and utterly insane, like, honestly. So yeah, as much as I would love to talk about cats or just show cat videos, and those are so cute, they make me so happy to see them. I just want to give them food and stuff. I want to give them food because they deserve food. But yeah, I'm a political guy, so the cat videos will keep coming, but it's definitely not going to be the bread and butter of this channel. It's going to be me talking about politics. Sorry about that if you're disappointed, but I'll do my best to make sure that the cat videos continue, because they're cute and they need food. But anyways, so frickin' Spanberger, right? Abigail Spanberger. Now, she is one of the only Democrats I actually respect, but she decided to be stupid. So if you're not aware, after the 2020 election, the Democrats were almost completely wiped out. Like, they had a lot of votes for president, but they only had a lot of votes for president, which is why a lot of people were suspicious, by the way. But in terms of Congress, they actually didn't do very well, if people don't recall. In fact, I think the Republicans, I might be wrong about that. The Republicans definitely lost the House. I don't know if they didn't lose the Senate. I'm not sure if they picked up a seat. I think they might have lost a seat, but they still had control over the Senate. Well, after that, a lot of Democrats were very angry. And it was the first time in quite a while that the Democrats kind of had a split down the middle. Like, you never really see Democrats go off the range and, like, speak out against the party as a whole. They try to intimidate their representatives to make sure that they always stay on track and they always speak well of the party and they always stick to the party line and they never go off the reservation. Well, after the 2020 election, a lot of them were very, very unhappy. Because while Biden won, that wasn't really, well, that wasn't good enough. They had almost lost a lot of seats. So, during their after-action video call, where every Democrat goes into Zoom or something, and then they have a conversation, and they talk about, like, the results of the election, a lot of Democrats did something unusual. And that's, they videotaped the call And then a lot of them put it out into the wild for people to see and kind of like hurt the reputation of Nancy Pelosi. So the reason why I like Spanberger is because after the election, she pointed out that she almost lost her election. While they still won the House, they almost lost a lot of seats, and that included the representative seat, one of the representative seats in Virginia. And she basically said that we have to stop talking about defunding the police. Like, that's one thing that we can't do anymore. It's not conducive to having a good election results. And she was like speaking out about the mainline political Democrat Party line. And what happened is that Nancy Pelosi came out, shut her down, and then said that they had a mandate to run the country. Now, that's common language when it comes to politics, to have a mandate. And what they mean is they have a mandate from the American people. However, the way she said it made me think of how the Chinese used to believe that they had a divine mandate from heaven in order to rule the country and to rule over the peasants. Like, that's just my personal, takeaway. And maybe it's uncharitable to Nancy Pelosi, but honestly, nothing's uncharitable to her. She's an awful, horrible person that actually does believe that she's above the law and that she can do everything she does is for the betterment of the country. Nancy Pelosi is a terrible person. People might disagree with me on that, but just look at her stock portfolio. Her stock portfolio and her husband's stock portfolio do better than the S&P 500. They do better than Warren Buffett. They do better than every single stock consulting firm that's not corrupt, by the way, in the country. Because they know what bills are going to get passed and how those bills are going to affect stocks. And then they go in on the stocks when they're low and they sell when they're high. And they're the ones passing the legislation that affect those stocks. It's all very corrupt, and people have been speaking out against it for the last 10 years. And every time a bill like that goes in front of Congress, they're like, we can't ban people in Congress from owning stock. Hell, even if you own a mutual fund, or you own you're in Acorns, the investment app, for example. If you're not aware, mutual funds, someone else takes the money and invests the money for you, and you have no contact with the people who invest the money. You don't tell them what stocks are going to get big. No, it's like a think tank that look at what's going on in the world, and then they try to determine which stocks are going to go up and which stocks are going to go down. Mutual funds are highly diversified assets. They go into a little bit of this, a little bit of hospitality, they go into a little bit of tech, they go into a little bit of utilities and what have you. And they basically guarantee that we'll have a 3 to 5% increase every year. Even if someone owns a mutual fund, they get berated in Congress for it. Again, even though they have no control of what the mutual fund invests in. So when someone owns stocks and they have a 3,000% increase in their net worth over a year, oh Mark, excuse me. That last one was actually kind of real because I kind of forced myself to cough. Anyways, yeah, they're kind of looked down upon. Well, Spanberger, as I was talking about, one of the more reasonable ones. Doesn't seem to end up on that like 300% increase every year, that 3,000% increase every year. Seriously though, some like members of Congress like increase their net worth by 300% like every year. It's insane. Anyways, frickin' Spanberger seems to be, you know, one of the more reasonable, less corrupt ones. And then she ran for governor of Virginia. Now, if you're not aware, Virginia is a blue state, technically, because they vote for Democrats basically every election for president. But their governor for a very long time was a Republican, and their state house is often also Republican. It's like how Michigan is kind of a blue state, but it's more of a purple state, where the state house is like always Republican, and then the control of the state senate flips back and forth every like 2 or 4 years, depending. It really depends. But Spanberger won the governorship in Virginia, and then the Democrats won the state house. And then they immediately started to talk about, and I'm talking about Democrats as a whole throughout the country, are talking about affordability now, saying that everything is unaffordable, and they say it's due to Trump, completely ignoring all the inflation that happened under Biden. Completely ignoring that Trump is fighting against Chinese slave labor and them stealing our technology. Forget all of that. Forget the fact that Trump just overthrew the dictator of Venezuela and got us access to billions of barrels of oil that dropped gas prices by 10 cents literally overnight. In fact, it actually dropped gas prices by 20 cents at one of my local gas stations for a while. That was actually kind of happy. I was really happy about that. Anyways, forget that like a lot of the inflation happened under Biden, and we're trying to fix those issues while having a trade war with China. And a lot of people complain about the trade war, but I have to remind you again that China has stolen a lot of our technology and have driven a lot of our businesses out of business, a lot of our companies out of business. In fact, they took over the windmill industry. Like, our company had windmills down pat. Like, we had a company that did windmills, and then China stole the tech, drove that company out of business, and now they make cheap crap that is very likely to explode in high winds. Like, literally just tear itself apart and fly off in every direction, leaking oil all over the land, poisoning the earth for thousands of years to come. Maybe not thousands, but it definitely didn't help the groundwater situation, let's just say it like that, okay? But yeah. And then China also uses an unbearable amount, like an unbearable amount being more than 0 people, but they use slave labor and people that they sterilize so that they can't have children, except if they are allowed to have children, it's so that those children can be used for slave labor later down the line. You know, that's how the American South worked for a very long time, where the slave trade had been shut down, so they had to make sure that plenty of slaves were being born into slavery. Yeah, that's what China does, like right now, like right now. Anyways, ignoring all of that right now and completely just focusing on, you know, how much money your milk costs, which, why would milk prices be affected because of gas prices? But anyways, ignoring all of that good reasons to go against China in basically every regard forever, Spanberger decided that she and the Democratic Party should raise taxes instead of making things more affordable, like the National Democrats said. They increased taxes, they increased, like, oh, you know, taxes on how much you should spend on a lawnmower. They taxed lawnmowers. Now, yeah, I don't know if you've looked around recently, but this is the coldest winter we've had in years, with the most snow that we have ever seen. Now, you might say that that's because, well, it's just an outlier, which is complete BS, as the Democrats keep talking about they keep talking about global warming over and over and over again. And then they get hit by a year like this, where half of the South freezes in winter and knocks out all their power lines because the Democrats refuse to, have actual infrastructure bills. But they talked about the infrastructure bill as if it was a great thing, and then it didn't improve any infrastructure. In fact, they were supposed to build recharging stations for electric vehicles all over the country, and they built like 10 out of like 1,000 or 10,000. Something insane like that. Like, they literally just stole the money and didn't do anything with it. No, while our bridges collapses and our electric system fails and, like, it can't hold up to even a slight breeze, let alone a winter as big as this, they decided to raise taxes on lawnmowers. Which, you might say that, gas-powered lawnmowers, a little bit inefficient, might, cause some gas buildup in the atmosphere, completely ignoring the fact that, electric lawnmowers often use coal plants and oil plants, natural gas plants instead, and that actually causes, more greenhouse gases than a lawnmower does. But, I'm just completely ignore that. So, Spanberger decided to be an idiot and throw her entire party under the bus, which, that's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. So, she used to be the smartest member of Congress, or at least the smartest Democrat member of Congress, which puts her at around 50th place in terms of intelligence. But, it is what it is, and she decided to throw that all away immediately upon gaining actual power. So, I mean, dumb. She's very dumb. Congratulations, you just tanked the entire Democrat Party's platform there. Jesus Christ. Spanberger, God. Gain power, you instantly become corrupt. Incredible. Anyways, I'll leave it there, guys. Bye.